Well, Chiefs fans, there is nothing on the docket today, and certainly nothing absolutely devastating and heartbreaking. We are just here in order to gloat about what it's like to be the number one franchise in the NFL, the greatest franchise of all time, and to revel in this 9-0. What's that? Yes. Oh, another long-term injury for the Kansas City Chiefs, landing an important player on IR. It can't be. Well, it is. And I've got 5 thoughts on Harrison Butker going on IR and a little bit of detail. We have some details leaking through the media, but not too terribly much. So let's get into things. Number 1 here, take 5. It is okay to lament for a little while as a fan. As a fan, it's okay to take a step back and say, man, this season has been absolutely wild. Yes, the Kansas City Chiefs have been fortunate through the past few seasons in the injury department. In fact, ever since the ill-fated supposed Super Bowl that allegedly took place between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which I still haven't met anyone who has seen that game or has any recollection of it. Since then, the injury situation for the Kansas City Chiefs has been fairly docile. The Chiefs have, for the most part, been pretty good in the injury department. So for all of this to really land on one season, man, it is mind-boggling. But during our moments of lament, I think that it is also important to keep in mind, the Chiefs are still 9-0. It's not really taken too terribly much of a toll on the franchise to this point. The Chiefs have not fallen. The Chiefs have dealt with each and every injury as it has occurred, and they're going to be in the playoffs regardless. And we saw last year, all you have to do is make the playoffs, and then you can win everything. That's all it takes, at least if Patrick Mahomes is the man throwing the football for your football team. Now, the number 2 thing here, I did this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as opposed to backwards like normally I do. Apparently, Harrison Butker is heading to the IR. Harrison Butker is heading to the IR immediately, which means one of 2 things. One, it's just that bad, and the team knew immediately that, he's done. Or 2, and I know there are some breaking reports, so I'll get into that in a second. Or 2, it is a move because the Chiefs want him back as soon as possible, and he is likely to be ready to come back as soon as possible. Apparently, this is a meniscus. This is a torn meniscus. That is the report that I have seen, and it will require surgery. He will, on IR, miss at least 4 games. I thought, immediately, I thought he was done for the season. There are people reporting on Twitter that this will be a 4-week stint on the IR. This will not be an 8-week. This will not be a season-ending injury. Those are the reports from people who at least claim to be in the medical field. I know nothing about this. I will not corroborate those reports. I will not back them up. I'm just going with what is said on social media. That would be absolutely wunderbar if that were the case. We are going to hope those people on Twitter know what it is they're talking about. Twitter X know what it is that they are talking about. I certainly hope so. And these weren't necessarily the big names. Honestly, I haven't seen a whole lot out there. So I'm going with what I have seen. Moving on to number 3 here. The Kansas City Chiefs have snagged Spencer Schrader from the Jets practice squad. Just last week, he made 2 field goals for the Jets, and he appeared for the Colts against the Texans back on September 8th, where he made 3 extra points. He also has 8 kickoffs on the season, all of those kickoffs going for touchbacks. This is a 25-year-old kicker in his first season out of Notre Dame by way of South Florida. Here's where we get into the bad news. He's 6'1.5", 201 pounds, but disappointingly, he did not run his 40 at his pro day. He did not do the bench press, the vertical, or any of the cone drills. Now, if you've been around this channel for any period of time, you know that that tells me bad things. It tells me he's not a competitor. It tells me that if he's not doing the bench press, he's not willing to block. Okay? If he's not doing the vertical, probably not going to make back corner of the end zone touchdown receptions. So there's probably a lot of holes in his game as a kicker. Now, number 4 here. The effects. It will be interesting to see how this affects the Kansas City Chiefs' strategies. With Harrison Butker at their back, the Kansas City Chiefs knew that they were basically crossing the midfield marker away from points. Harrison Butker is about as automatic as they come on regular field goals, but they knew that once they were in long-distance field goal territory, probably they could get 3 points. In college, Schrader was 43 of 63 on field goals and 156 out of 158 on extra points. Now, while college does have wider hash marks, it is worth noting that on those extra points, missing 2, 156 of 158, they are still the short extra points. So we're not talking about a 15-yard field goal with those. We're still talking about the very close to the goal line field goal for extra points. This is not a great percentage. Now, he did play 5 years in college. So, you're not just talking about the kicker when you're talking about field goals. You're talking about the snap, you're talking about the hold, you're talking about field condition, you're talking about all sorts of things. At the NFL level, this will be greatly neutralized. Most of the snappers in the NFL, that's the only thing they do. Most of the holders in the NFL are pretty good since Tony Romo retired. So there's a lot to be taken out of the variables. Looking back, playing at South Florida and Notre Dame, I don't know the variables there. I am assuming that Brett Veach has seen something in this young man's game that makes him think he can carry the load for the Kansas City Chiefs for at least 4 weeks. I don't know what that would be. I don't know if this is a guy with a huge leg. I don't know him by reputation. I don't know him by having looked into him before the draft. I really don't know anything about this young man, but there are always, every year, kickers that end up coming into the NFL from the street. Every year, kickers off the street will get put into games rather than or other than or in addition to players that have been on other teams' practice squads. Interestingly, no kickers on the Chiefs practice squad this season. So for the Chiefs to have seen something in his game that made them think we just got to go with this guy when there are probably 70 guys still kicking around that have NFL experience, we will see starting against the Bills, right? So, man, what a time for Harrison Butker to spring up on the injury report. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about here, do not underestimate the effect that this will have on the mental toughness of this team. Harrison Butker has been as constant in Kansas City as Patrick Mahomes, as Travis Kelce, as Chris Jones. This has been one of the staples of Kansas City Chiefs football. It's different to think of it that way because it's so few plays per game. But think of all the big kicks that you have seen Harrison Butker make for the Kansas City Chiefs. He has been a constant here, and look, 1,000%, all I'm trying to do here is come out with some positive from this news. But if the Chiefs go out there and they execute against the Bills, they get a win, all of a sudden this becomes something that is not it's a negative, but it's not a big deal. This can become something that this team knows they can overcome moving into the playoffs. It will make every player on this team feel more validated in their contributions. These are the types of things that, if they are overcome, actually help a team meld together as a team unit. That's not a great big upside. It's not, but it is an upside. Think of the past. There was a season, was it 2019 maybe? I don't remember off the top of my head the number, but Patrick Mahomes missed a few games. The team won during that time, and they got closer. The offense, everybody stepped up, and all of a sudden, that team was even more dangerous than before because they knew no matter what happened, they could win games. This does not seem on the surface level that it would be such a big deal for the team to lose the kicker and still be able to win. But it is. Patrick Mahomes in the back of his head knows, I get it to the 40-yard line, we're bank for a few points. Everybody on that offense knows, we get the ball back, all we have to do, we're trailing by 2, all we have to do is get to the 40. And we're money, we're gold, we win. Everybody on that team knows that. That's gone. That is gone. So now, everyone on that team knows we have to do what we have to do. And so long as they do it, so long as they execute, that makes a team better, and it's psychological. Say Harrison Butker does come back. Now, all of a sudden, the offense knows we can get to the 40 and win, or we can close the thing right now. So those are the 5 thoughts that I have on Harrison Butker going under the knife in another move to the IR for a very important player for the Kansas City Chiefs. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, consider hitting the subscribe button and sticking around for more Chiefs news. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.